Hello, everybody. Welcome to Module 3 and our head-on attack on epistemology. Epistemology is a theory of knowledge, but it's not just about what we know. It's about how we can prove what we know, how we can get to understand that we know, and how we know what we know. So when we speak of epistemology, we're speaking of a complex and comprehensive understanding of knowing. In our discussion this week, you're asked to sketch out your own epistemology. As with a lot of our assignments, that may seem like it's a big ask. Don't get overwhelmed by it. A good portion of our readings from the textbook are a little tangential to this task, so start by concentrating on the readings that directly address the subject of epistemology. The first link in readings for the Introduction to Philosophy page is a good place to start. It grounds you in how Plato went about setting up a schematic to show conditions under which we could say something is true. And if it's true, then it's the subject of knowledge. It walks you through some amendments to his thinking from more recent philosophers to kind of add some other qualifications so that you can see how to go about doing this. In the textbook, you should pay close attention to the section Rationalism and Empiricism, and that's another place for you to reference how you personally go about the business of knowing things. Which do you feel yourself more attached to? And I think that final segment on truth and science will also be helpful for reflection. Sort of a case in point for something we just generally think is true, that we take as true, and how much we can rely on the truth of it. All right. As long as I'm mentioning it, the truth and science section helps show what I've talked about before about the importance of philosophy across fields. If you're a biologist and you go to write up a study that you've done, the paper that you write does not consist only of the results that you find. That is an important segment for you to publish. However, what you write up is how the results relate to the theory of what you expected to find, and importantly, what you think those results mean. In other words, as a biologist, a hard scientist who is working with hard data, you present your findings through theory and argumentation. The same is true for every field of study. So spending your time focusing on building arguments like we do is an invaluable practice for all scholars. This week, your other assignment is to declare your subject for the Milestone Project for this term. You're to name the question you'll address and then explain the question. Basically, think of it in terms of giving anybody off the street the lowdown on what they need to get what you're getting at. All right. Then you're to present your answer to the question and summarize how you justify that answer. And then you're supposed to give a quick outline of the three philosophers you'll reference, and you'll name exact sources for where you're drawing information about them. So a couple of things to note. One, if you think about those three things that you have to do, it kind of looks like you could be writing and writing and writing a bunch to get this done. But the requirements for the 3-2 assignment only ask for a single double-spaced page of text. That should equate to about 330 words. So part of the challenge for this assignment will be to boil down your thoughts and make each word count. This is a skill used in writing proposals or abstracts for papers. You want it to be information-rich and dense with significance, but you don't want it to take up precious space and the time of your reader. Now, it takes effort to do this, and I would like to see everyone striving to accomplish it within the set space. I don't mind if you go a little bit over, but really try to keep it as brief as possible and as pointed as possible. All right? Like I said, it takes effort to write a lot of information in a very short space. Again, in the subject of abstracts, when I write an abstract, typically I will take up, say, 2 full pages to get it done. And then it's just a matter of paring it down, paring it down, paring it down, because most abstracts are usually no longer than, say, 250 words. All right. So it just apply yourself. All right. Give it a go. The second thing I wanted to note is about the sources. At least one of them should be from the textbook. You can use any of the other readings provided in the course as additional sources, or you can do a little research through the library and find a scholarly source of your own. When you're selecting these sources, please think about it in terms of utility. Think about them in terms of what they will do for you as you try to accomplish your argument. So look for sources that agree with points you plan to make so that you can incorporate them as direct support for your position. You should also look for at least one source that takes an alternate view, one that does not agree with what you're saying. Plan to use this as a counterpoint to show that you have considered other angles and will disprove them as a way of strengthening your own answer. All right? I'm just saying, don't just pick sources because where they've mentioned the topic. This philosopher, said this. Actually look at what they say and make sure that you can use them for what you need to use them for, because that's the only way your argument will be successful. All right. Now, as usual, if you need me during the week, please feel free and contact me. You know how to do it. Until next time, adios.